Wanted to come to you with a special episode on our I2 podcast. Wanted to do something just a little unique. Yesterday was just such a devastating day, such a heart-wrenching day for so many people, finding out about Kobe Bryant, his daughter, and several others who all passed away in a helicopter accident. And it's one of those days where I know for me, you remember where you were when you find out the news. And I had just been scrolling and reading about LeBron James passing Kobe on the all-time scoring list, and I look up and I see the news, and my day led me next to going and doing the radio for a Creighton basketball game, and just to talk to the players and just to be in the atmosphere in a basketball environment where everybody was processing and mourning the loss of such an incredible superstar is just something that I'll never forget. And I haven't had very many just words and things to share in response, but just in honor of Kobe and in honor of a player that I know for me I looked up to in so many ways. Michael Jordan was probably my initial first idol as a basketball player, but really Kobe's the one who I was able to follow and learn from, and learned so much from his life, the way he carried himself, the way he played the game of basketball, his mentality. And I thought I would just share a few things in honor of Kobe that I learned from him over the years, and things that will stay with me really for the rest of my life. One of the things that really sticks out to me when I think of Kobe is just his focus. And you hear a lot about, his Mamba mentality, and I remember hearing stories of him working out, and he would do what was called the blackout workout. And he would work out, and it would take several trainers to work out with him because he would go so hard that he would actually get to a point where he would black out. And he would go to great lengths to put together some of the most intense training regiments, the things and the ways he would take care of himself off the court. He wanted to be the best at basketball, and he did everything he could. I mean, his life was focused around that. He had a focus unlike anybody else I had ever seen or witnessed when it came to the game of basketball. And it really was one of the reasons that he was able to reach some of the heights that he reached. Number two, I think about this word purpose. And it's something that I'm passionate about, that when you see somebody living with purpose and intention, it inspires you to want to live with purpose. And Kobe, had that sense of purpose. He had it in the game of basketball, and you saw it lived out on a consistent basis. He didn't just play for fun. I mean, he played to win. He didn't just show up every time he stepped on the court. He wanted to show out, and he wanted to give his best, and he wanted to put on a show. And one of the things that I loved is and I'm so sad about, is seeing him take that purpose and intentionality and focus. And in the latter years after his retirement, he really started to shift that to his family and his girls and his wife and some of the art and creativity that he was pursuing. He lived just with a sense of amazing purpose. And I think he was starting to see that purpose was bigger than basketball. And you could tell by the way he was living as basketball started to come to an end, the reality that purpose isn't defined by our position and what we're doing and where we are in life, but it's who we are, and it's how we pursue life. And the things that made him be great in basketball, he started to transfer and translate into the other aspects of his life. And you could just see the progress and the impact that he was starting to have, the purpose that he was living with. I'll forever be inspired because of the purpose that he lived with on a consistent basis. The third thing that I take away from Kobe's life is the idea of growth and development. And I just believe that until God takes us home, he's not done changing us. And you watch a guy like Kobe, who I believe at the age of 17 comes into the NBA, and a lot of guys have been just talking about his life and what they got to see unfold. And to see just who he was becoming and the changes that he was making. He was one of those guys that he knew that in order to get to where he wanted to be, he had to change. He had to grow. He couldn't stay where he was, and so he was always looking to change and develop skills in his game. He was always looking to tweak some things. He was always looking to get better in whatever way he could. And for me, up until just the end of his life, I was actually probably the last couple of weeks leading up to this, I had been watching him with some different speaking engagements, and he would sit down and he would talk about his Mamba mentality and talk about focus, and he would talk about getting better, and he would talk about the process that individuals engage in to become their best. I was really getting immersed in some of the things he was communicating, and you could just tell that he had a passion for change and for growth. And he was really embracing that in this new season and chapter of life after basketball, and it was fun. And man, he's one of those guys that the sky was the limit, and much of that had to do with his desire to engage in the process of growth and change. And so when I think about Kobe, I'll think about focus, I'll think about purpose, I'll think about growth, and I'll think about what this podcast really represents, and that's using the influence we have to impact the world that we're in. And it's been amazing to just watch the just response that individuals have had at every single level. Like I said, I went that same day and was a part of doing the radio for a Creighton basketball game. 17,000 fans plus were there, and every single player to a T had some story of how he impacted their lives, and you could see on social media the players and the fans and around the world really the impact that he had, and how sports and basketball in his life really transcended not just the basketball court, but it transcended all these different areas of life, and politics and business and family and culture, and to see somebody, especially in his latter years, become so intentional about using his influence to impact those around. He had his Mamba Academy, and he was developing and being an advocate for women athletes in the basketball arena, the WNBA and the NBA. And to see him be so intentional. I saw a story on Instagram by Jamie Foxx that said, when the premiere of this movie that Jamie was a part of was coming out, that highlighted some of the injustices in inner cities, Kobe helped fund the tickets and helped get several theaters so that inner city kids could come and witness and watch this film. So he was really embracing his influence. And for me, he's one of those guys that had incredible influence on my life as a young athlete, as a young basketball player. I followed the Lakers because of Kobe Bryant, and I wanted to have the type of grit and the type of mentality and focus and purpose that he played with on the court. Man, I wanted that. And so I know that Kobe's mark, his life, his legacy, everything he stood for, everything he represented, even in Kobe's life, he made some mistakes. But man, I appreciate the way he owned those mistakes, the way he grew from those mistakes, and the way he didn't let those mistakes define his life. I know I can speak for millions that Kobe will forever have a profound impact on my life, and I believe that his life can inspire all of us to use our influence, to live with purpose, to live with a sense of focus, to become great at whatever God has gifted us to do, to never settle for where we are, but always be open to and interested in learning and growing and developing to become the best versions of who God has designed each one of us to be. I'll forever remember him. I'm forever grateful for him. Our thoughts, our prayers go out to his family, his wife, his children, the others that were affected by the crash, the families that have lost loved ones, recognizing that their lives will never, ever be the same. And because of Kobe, our lives will never be the same. So I just want to say, man, on behalf of so many, so grateful for the life of Kobe Bryant. And I pray that God would continue to use his life to inspire us to use our influence to impact the world that we're in.